Hello, everybody. This is another episode of the award-winning Boyblue and Bigby. I am Bigby,
I'm Boy Blue.
and today we are talking about our Halloween selection because it's the Halloween time. The
It's the
Monster
Monster
Mash
Mash.
episode.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's-
yeah. Oh, we could have done it at the same time.
no, we did. I
Monster
think we
Mash.
did.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, awesome.
Yeah. We'll have
Hopefully
to
we had the
listen to the
music.
recording.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be cool.
The Monster Mash. The
You can just sing it.
Graveyard Dash. The Monster Mash. That's all I know.
You know
But
what I just realized? This is episode 12, and if we had actually thought things through, we would have had another episode, so this would be episode 13.
oh,
But
dang.
sorry,
Okay, guys,
listeners.
this is a Daredevil episode.
Yeah.
So what'd you think of season 3? Um,
That was real good.
yeah. Oh yeah, it was amazing. So episode 12, folks, it is crazy to think that Halloween is just around the corner, like
It is, yeah. It could
2
be,
days
yeah.
or one
could-
day.
It could be one day or the day, depending on when you listen to it. Or if you listen to it late, it's already in the past and you missed it. So,
Yeah.
that's rough.
It is. Because you're probably all going through your candy and picking out the good stuff and giving the rest to your children.
Exactly.
Mm.
So, business, I mean, not really business, but just want to update everyone. You can now find us on iTunes at you just search Boy Blue and Bigby. You can even just search Bigby, and we're like the second one that comes up. So check us out there if you want to do that. We're also on Podbean. Same thing. If you search Boy Blue and Bigby, we pop up there. And yeah, that's about it. You can still find us on YouTube. All the
Classic
podcast
episodes.
go up there. Yeah. But yeah, now you have multiple options. Also check out our Instagram for award-winning pictures. We keep saying award-winning. I'm not sure why it came out. Yeah. Check out the Instagram. I think we're just like Boy Blue underscore and underscore Big B. Yep, that's right. So follow us there, and
you'll find out what we're reading and our own little reviews
exactly,
and random stuff of our own personal collections of what we have at our place of location.
it's true.
I guess.
Yeah. So that was it. That was the business part. You can listen to us in other places now. It feels so much more official now. I feel like we're growing up.
Yeah. We started from the bottom and now we're here.
All right. So, do you want to kick it off with one of your
Alrighty.
Halloween books?
So, Halloween is my favorite time of the year because everybody gets scared and you could dress up as whoever you want and no one would judge you.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, at our work, we're always able to dress up at on Halloween, and it's cool because last year I dressed up as Beast and I didn't feel like a fool at all.
And you dressed up as Beast, as in Beauty and the Beast, not
Yes,
Beast as in
yes,
X-Men Beast. Yeah.
I couldn't handle painting my whole body blue
Why not?
because the fumes would kill me. And so yeah, I love Halloween. So this episode is really awesome because I pretty much get to read all these crazy, spooky titles anyways. And the first one I'd like to recommend that I read is Jughead the Hunger, which takes place in Riverdale with Archie and the gang, where we find out Jughead is a werewolf, and Betty, his best friend, is a werewolf killing lady, a hunter, if you want to call her that. And he's killing some people in Riverdale, but he can't control it. And this entire little spew of crazy werewolf goodness. It's a great read. I love it. First time I picked it up, I just thought it was cool because I'm a big fan of werewolves and werewolf movies and everything. And yeah, the art is amazing. The story is really, really cool. And if you just want to see Jughead rip the jugular out of a bunch of people, that's great too.
So, I mean that kind of answered my question. I never know what to do with the Archie comics that come out.
Mhm.
Like I obviously there's like the Archie, the old like digests.
Classic. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I see like Archie by man, who was it? Like Mark Waid and Fiona Staples.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
what? That's a great writer and a great artist doing Archie. So I've never actually read an Archie comic, but you just said that Jughead rips out people's jugulars. Now I'm
Yeah, well, just for this
yeah.
particular one. I mean, he doesn't do that on a regular basis.
But so it gets intense, I guess. In
It does.
Riverdale. Wow.
It does. Yeah,
Okay.
really intense.
Wow. I might have to check out some.
Yeah, you will, man.
Yeah.
Just that though. Just the and there's another one I'm gonna recommend, which is another cool one. But what about you, sir? What did you read?
I will start with. What do I want to start with? I'll start with Gideon Falls, Volume 1 by Jeff Lemire, my main man, Jeff Lemire.
Jeff
If you
Lemire.
want to hear us gush about Jeff Lemire, listen to episode
Every
5.
podcast.
Yeah,
I
episode
think like
5.
pretty much everyone.
The creator spotlight. That's true. It is kind of everyone. So as Jeff Lemire does the writing, Andrea Sorrentino. Let me see. I have to make sure I got that name right. I always feel bad when I mess up people's names.
Well, sometimes
Yeah, Andrea Sorrentino. And then the great Dave Stewart, who did I shouldn't say all, but a lot of the colors for Hellboy, which I'll talk about later. And so that's the team for Gideon Falls. First 6 issues, I think that's what it was, make up the first volume. And it's good, but I feel like we're retreading some territory here. And without giving away spoilers, well, first of all, I'll say the art is fantastic. So there's that. If you like the art, I would pick it up. But as far as the story, Bigby listeners, you know, I love me some Black Hammer. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
But Gideon Falls, and like I said, I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but this is something that I think they advertise. So there's this demonic looking barn that people are saying. It's called the Black Barn. And already I'm like, this sounds familiar. You know, like Jeff Lemire seems to have a farm thing going on.
He really does.
But basically it takes place, it follows 2 characters. One is a priest who is moving to Gideon Falls. He's going to be the new priest at the church. The old priest died, supposedly. He supposedly died. And I don't know. It's a little stereotypical. It's kind of like a priest. You know, he's got like a past. He's like, oh, I used to drink a lot. You know, I got in trouble, blah, 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 blah. Like, okay, I guess that's interesting. And then, so follows him. Then there's another character who clearly has some sort of mental illness. I think they kind of specify he's schizophrenic. But he's walking around a city just picking up pieces of wood. And he collects them and puts them in jars. And he doesn't know why he does it, but he thinks they're important. There's like his little samples. And he dreams about the Black Barn, and he draws pictures of the Black Barn. And so you get to see him and kind of his therapy sessions. And then back with the priest, this event happens. I won't I won't say what happens, but an event happens and the priest sees this vision of a black barn. So now we have two people seeing this black barn. And so it's kind of a mystery. I think it's a good Halloween read because there is some graphic violence. I mean, it's violent and creepy, but it definitely goes in some directions I wasn't expecting. It's kind of when it first came out, it was marketed as like horror, and it has elements of that, but there's also some kind of sci-fi, maybe even fantasy things going on. So I trust Lemire, but after 6 issues, I have no idea what is happening. It's kind of one of those things where I'm sure he'll clear things up, but right now, especially with some of the barn aspects that I don't really want to talk about because they're spoilers, but kind of similar to Black Hammer for me in a little bit, but Black Hammer with not as interesting characters.
Oh, that's a little disappointing
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, and like I said, I've only read 6 issues.
Mhm.
We'll see where it goes. Art is fantastic, but I was a little underwhelmed. I didn't think that it was the mystery didn't have me I didn't really like I kind of want to know what's going on, but you also get to a point I got to a point where I was like, "Oh, this is what's happening." I kind of figured it out, and I don't know. We'll see. I still would say, it's Lemire. Give it a read. You might like it.
Yeah.
But not my favorite thing by him. But I would say a good Halloween spooky read. Wow, that's really long-winded. I apologize.
You sound like you're out of breath right now.
I know. I got to drink
Just like
Coke.
Coca-Cola, folks. Coca-Cola.
I'm not sure why I said I have to drink Coke when I'm out of breath. That's probably like the opposite.
Yeah,
I probably need to like take a breath. Like, anyways, that's how passionate I am about Jeff Lemire.
Yeah.
He's got to ramble for minutes at a time.
Minutes at a time.
Minutes at a time. Well, what is your next one?
My next one again is a Riverdale instant classic called Archie Afterlife.
Whoa.
Yeah, this one is if you love zombies like a bunch of people do, that's primarily what this story is about. Jughead, it starts off with Jughead going to Sabrina Spellman's house in Greendale because his dog died, and everybody knows that Jughead loves his dog. And she ends up using black magic to revive the dog, but the dog doesn't come back as the fun-loving dog that everybody knows. Comes back as like an undead nightmare.
Goodness.
So yeah,
Archie does get dark.
yeah, it really does. This one is probably the darkest thing I've read from Archie because it's always fun-loving, happy-go-lucky, like, oh, geez, Willikers, man. Mr. Lodge hates me for dating Betty or Veronica. But this one's like, oh, hey, I got bit by my dog. And then Jughead becomes the first zombie. And he goes around attacking the townsfolk, which leaves a group of survivors going from place to place to place, trying to avoid Jughead and his undead hordes. And
oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's like when I first saw it at the library, I was like, huh, what's this about? And then I read it and I was like, oh my God, this is the darkest Archie thing I've ever read. And it's great because this is actually the first time where I saw that 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 they could go in that direction with these characters.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, once you think of Archie, you don't think of blood, gore, eating people, or killing people. You just think of the whole classic all-American theme kind of thing.
Right.
And the fact that you see zombified dog bite Jughead, and then Jughead like eating people's faces off. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. So yeah, I recommend it. It's like a classic zombie film. Everybody like trying to find a good place to hole up at, and they try to figure out what's going on. And Archie, no spoilers, does something he doesn't like, but he had to.
Wow.
And yeah,
Goodness.
yeah.
So with Archie, it sounds like do they kind of just give writers free reign to do some stuff? I mean, is there really like a continuity with Archie, or with they're just like do an Archie miniseries? Go, it's like that type of thing.
Yeah, that's what I figured because so far they've been taking Archie and Jughead and recently I just saw on Comixology Veronica as a vampire.
Right. So they're just
I'm like,
kind of doing whatever.
yeah, they're just like, okay, you guys want to write a zombie story? Here you go, just
Use Archie.
do it like that. Yeah, go ahead, use Archie and his gang, or like,
Huh.
oh, and Halloween's around the corner. Let's throw another creepy vampire fest werewolf thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, which is amazing.
I mean, I'm more sooner going to read that than like the old digest.
Yeah. Unless they do a whole compile of Archie Halloween Spectacular, which
That'd
would be
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
All right, so what is your second?
I will go with Nail Biter, which is another Image book. This one I'm not. This kind of a little bit older. It's by Joshua Williamson and art by Mike Henderson. Actually, it kind of credits Henderson as a writer too, so it looks like they kind of co-wrote it, and Henderson did the art. So this series, I believe, has concludes. I bought the first volume quite a while ago at a used bookstore. It was like $5, and I was like, I'll spend $5 for volume 1. And then I kind of forgot about it, and then I was like, what should I read for Halloween? And I was like, oh, this book's about a serial killer. Let's read that. And so I did. And it's pretty good. It's a good first volume. I think in a lot of ways it kind of just feels like a crime book, which I like crime books. It's no Brubaker. Sorry, Joshua Williamson.
Oh man, he's probably sad now.
But so Nailbiter is about a town in Oregon. It's like Buckaroo Falls, Buckaroo something. It's something weird. And basically this town has it's like given how I say 16 of the nation's worst serial killers have all been born in that town. So there's a like a special investigator, like an FBI agent or something. He goes there to try to find out why is this happening? Is there something making these people do this? Why? And so he goes missing as these things happen. And his friend, who I believe he was like in CIA, he's like Army or CIA, something like that, but like I want to say like counter-terrorist or something, like, but he's involved in like interrogations, some law enforcement person. And he goes to see if he can find his friend, help him with his investigation. One of the most notorious serial killers there was called the Nail Biter, and he captures people, presumably ties them up, and then bites their nails down to the bone. Pretty disgusting. Yeah. And then he kills them. So you're like, oh, that's a pleasant fellow. But when the story picks up, he's been let go, actually. Like they never were able to prove anything. So he's actually free. Everyone knows he's the nail biter, but they can't prove it. And so he's there. People obviously always think he's the one who did it. So they're like, "Oh, nail biter, we're on to you." He's like, "This time it's not me. I didn't do anything to your investigator friend." Anyways, that's the premise. Fairly standard crime stuff. There are some pretty disturbing images. So if you like that, once again, for your Halloween fun, nail biters for you. I think what kind of isn't gelling with me is the whole, I don't feel like I need a reason why there are serial killers coming from this town. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I just want to read a crime book about a crazy serial killer, and that's like, that sounds good. But I just don't want to finish a series and then it's like, turns out there is something in the water. You know, I don't know. Like, whatever reason there was, like,
it was positive energy that made them serial killers.
And like I said, this series has wrapped up. So, like, you know, listeners, you probably, if you've read it and you're probably like, wow, Boy Blue's an idiot. He should read the stuff before commenting on it. But I don't know. It was good. I think I'll pick up the second volume probably from the library. I don't know if it's something I feel the need to buy after reading the first one, but solid. I would say like a 3.5 out of 5 stars.
I feel like the library shouldn't have that on their system if they have people graphically getting their fingers bitten off.
Hey, it's literature, man.
That sounds really interesting.
I'm pretty sure I've seen it in the library. Yeah, nail biter.
When you say nail biter, I thought you yeah, he bites people's nails. I'm like, oh my god, how is that terrifying if he's just cutting people's nails with his.
No, he starts doing that, then he goes a little further. It's pretty gross. Yeah. So nail biter, check it out. I mean, it is a good horror comic. I mean, if you want to read a horror comic, check it out. But
I don't get any idea. So
yeah, I guess what I'm saying is it's not like it's not breaking the mold on anything. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm like, wow, that was a whole new story. It's like, oh yeah, that's kept my interest.
Nail biter, yeah,
fire for 5 issues, yeah.
So now I'm like staring at my nails, like, oh, how? Sorry, just like distracting now. I'm like, how could you bite through the bone for your nails? But then I remembered it's for somebody else's nails, not your own. But
I don't know, man. I'm not the nail biter.
Dun dun dun. He looked suspicious, like his eyes did the shifty thing. Alrighty, so the third pick, numero tres, is something that we both read before, and I believe I recommended it to you because I thought it was something like it reinvented the lore of vampires.
Mm-hmm.
And it's by our love-hate Scott Snyder and Raphael Albuquerque. American Vampire.
Yeah.
American Vampire, basically. That's what I'm trying to say, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. And it's vampires in the Wild West and the 1930s and World War II and the 60s and pretty much all the cool decades from what I read. I stopped reading after volume 3 because the cool vampire disappears. I'm gonna say disappears, so no spoilers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it really does change the vampire lore from the classic European vampire to the Wild West because the main vampire can walk out in the sunlight and he gets more power by the moonlight, if I remembered right.
I thought he was
weaker,
he was
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's like his secret.
Yeah, so it's reversed with the vampires.
Mm-hmm.
and he's really cool because he's a killer. What is Skinner Sweet?
Hmm.
He even has a cool name.
He does have a
So
cool name.
he's an outlaw who becomes a vampire by accident because they try to, what was it? They try to kill him. They try to hang him, and one of the vampires is in the same train as they're transporting him, and uh, his crew or his gang, I forget what people call them in the West, is a gang or crew? Mr. Outlaw.
Gang? I don't know.
It's a gang.
I like gang.
A gang. So his
Let's
gang
round
tries
up a
to,
posse and get that Skinner gang. That sounds
yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah, okay. So yeah, a gang try to bust him out. So when he does, uh, chaos ensues, and Skinner finds out that the banker guy is a vampire. So the vampire kills him, and his blood drops into Skinner's eye, and he becomes a badass, creepy vampire. And the first time I saw him as a vampire, I will not lie, I peed a little because it was the creepiest thing I've ever seen. Because he was like underwater, and he's like his nails are all long, his fangs are out and everything, and I was like, oh god, that's terrifying. I don't want to meet an American vampire. So that's his story, and he lives such a long time that he affects this what's her name, Perla Jones,
Yeah, I think it's Pearl
uh
Jones. Yeah.
yeah, a actress who was trying to make it big in movies, and I think she kind of has like the same uh sort of the same backstory as he does when she becomes a vampire, because she finds out too much, or not too much, they use her as entertainment. I'm using air quotes.
Right, right.
And they just eat her, and then they leave her alive, and he brings her back to life the same way he gets brought back to life, and then all this craziness happens, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I love American Vampire. I was going to have it as one of mine, and then I thought, I bet it'll be one of yours. So, listeners, if you haven't read any of the ones we've talked about so far, I would advocate checking out American Vampire. I think it's on kind of another level. It's Scott Snyder getting to do what he wants to do, which I think is really good. I kind of always got the feeling, and I could be wrong about this, but I feel like Scott Snyder on on Batman or Justice League or whatever, he's kind of restrained. I think horror is kind of where he wants to be. But he can't go all out, on a DC book. But American Vampire is just fantastic. I think what took me, it's kind of shocking and maybe a little bit of a spoiler, but when Skinner Sweet becomes a vampire, it's not like he arises from the dead and he's like, I should be a better person. I've gotten a second chance at life. It's like, no, he's still an awful person. It's just now he has powers.
Yeah, I think he got worse.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. It's a great series. I think he's a interesting, although awful character. And Pearl Jones is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
I like her character development, and it's just interesting seeing the vampires in different time periods. Starts in the West, then it progresses. Eventually, I mean, it goes further, but I think the World War II one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And and also, first of all, Raphael Albuquerque's art is amazing.
It really is.
But Sean Murphy also does some of the issues, and those are pretty amazing too. So I would highly recommend American Vampire. Bigby, that was a wonderful selection.
Yeah. So I'm still imagining Skinner Sweet popping up, and it's terrifying.
No, when you're
Raphael Albuquerque, you did a great job
yeah,
scaring the piss out of me.
no, when you're talking about it, I was like, man, I want to like go read that right now.
Yeah.
It's
It's like,
really great.
oh God, it is. Like I read it whenever it gets around this time anyways. I'm like, oh yeah, American Vampire time, Halloween.
Exactly.
It's creepy drawing. I'm like, oh God. Then I close it.
And
Then I have it.
listeners, if you want to spend between $50 and $100, you can buy the American Vampire Omnibus. I think
And
it's
then
coming
let
out.
Boy Blue, yeah, let
Yeah,
Boy Blue know how you like it.
I think it's coming out on Halloween. So there you go.
Let him know because he's very anxious to find out what's in that.
That's what I need to do. I need to get the library to buy omnibuses.
There
It's
you
an
go.
awful idea. They would just fall apart immediately.
Well, as long as you're the first one, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
treat it
exactly.
right, yeah. All right. So, what is
My
your choice?
next, yeah, my
Yeah,
third choice is Tokyo Ghoul by oh man,
don't even try.
Sui Ishida. Sorry.
That's why I don't say the author's names because I'm like,
uh
I'll get it wrong.
oh yeah. Um so Tokyo Ghoul is a manga. It's a pretty popular manga. There's also an anime. I have not watched the anime. And I haven't really even read that far. I've read the first 3 volumes of Tokyo Ghoul. And I like it so far. So I'll probably keep going with it. But basically, do you know anything about it? Is this all new
No,
information? Oh,
it is on.
I will educate
I
you.
I'm aware of this series. I just haven't picked
Yeah.
it up myself.
So in Tokyo Ghoul, there are it's in Tokyo, and there are ghouls. So
Ah.
ghouls are basically they look like humans. You can't tell the difference, except they can only eat human flesh. That's the only thing they can eat. Can't survive on anything else. If they try to eat like, bread, for example, they'll throw it up. Like they can't keep anything down.
So they don't know the beauty of pizza. That's a
Exactly. Yeah.
shame.
Exactly. So the main character is a college student named Kaneki, I think. And this is like the mildest of spoilers, but I mean, I think it's probably on the back of the book. Basically, he ends up getting an organ transplant, but the donor is a ghoul, and nobody knows that.
What?
So he becomes the only, as far as I know, because I haven't read further, but assumedly the only ghoul human hybrid. And the problem is the ghoul part of him seems to be stronger. I mean, he has a law of the negative, so he can't eat the food, like our food.
Mhm.
So he basically the first 3 volumes is him really dealing with like, I have to eat a person, like that kind of thing. Oddly, if they drink coffee, it staves off their hunger for a little while. Did I say eat coffee? Drink coffee. If they
Yeah.
drink coffee, it'll stave off their hunger. So he's just like drinking tons of coffee and slowly kind of dying because he doesn't want to
Sounds
eat anyone.
familiar to me.
But eventually, he meets other ghouls. They kind of force him to eat people.
Oh, jeez, it's terrible.
Yeah. So, which obviously, like, he freaks out about. And I won't say how they get their food because it's interesting. But so what comes about is, he sees this whole world of ghouls, and some ghouls just straight up murder people and just eat them. And then there are other ghouls who have other means. There are other ghouls who can't even hunt for themselves, and they go to this place and they like buy human meat. It's pretty gross, actually. But anyway, so then there's obviously the humans don't want to be eaten, so there are ghoul investigators, and so he's kind of torn between 2 worlds. He's making friends oddly with some of the ghouls, but he's also being hunted down by humans because they're like, hey, we don't like being eaten, which I think is fair.
Yeah,
Um,
especially the way he said, like, "Hey, cool. We don't
I
like to
don't,
be
yeah, we
eaten,
don't want
so
to be eaten.
yeah,
So yeah, that's kind of the first three volumes. I I mean, obviously from the description, I mean, it's pretty violent. It's not like the worst thing I've ever seen, but there is lots of blood. There's people eating people. So if you're not into that, I'd stick away. But it's pretty good so far. It's a good from what I've read, it's pretty good, and it's not very long. I think it's only like 14 volumes, which I think is short for a manga. I mean, that's my one thing with
that's
manga.
really
I'm
short."
like, come on, guys, I can't read 30 volumes. That's
30? That's nothing. There's some out there that
I
are up to
know
80.
One Piece.
Yeah,
Um,
like, and it's 80. I'm like, yay.
yeah, yay. Anyways, yeah, Tokyo Ghoul. I'd check it out. Um, and that's about it. I want to see what happens to our main character if he embraces the ghoul or if he's like, no, I don't want to kill people.
I hope he gets killed.
I can see that happening too.
Yeah, he's just like, oh my god, I don't want to kill nobody. Well, here's your options. You're gonna get yeah, and they get. That's how I would trick him, but
Yeah.
that's just me.
All right, you got any more for our viewers?
Yes. Uh, well, this title is by Ian Eddington, David Fabry. Um, it it's something I read a long time ago. It's called Victorian Undead,
Hmm.
Sherlock Holmes,
Oh, interesting.
and there's like three uh ongoing series right now. The first one is a Sherlock Holmes and Watson face the undead zombies by a resurrected zombie Moriarty
Oh,
who
interesting.
creates his own little zombie army and they attack London, and Holmes and Watson try to fight all these undead zombies and Moriarty, and it's a cool, awesome mess that they get into.
Hmm.
And shortly after that happens, it goes to Victorian undead Sherlock Holmes versus Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Again, another brilliant by the same collaborators, and they're pretty much going up against a. They think it's another zombie after the effects of Moriarty and his stuff, but they only turn it turns out to be everyone's favorite psychopath, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Yay!
Ah.
Yeah,
Bum bum bum.
it's really cool how they transitioned from book one to this little quick shot and then leads to the other story, which is Sherlock versus Dracula, which I only read the first issue and I am loving it because nothing really, the art doesn't change, the story runs smoothly into the other where they reference the attack from the zombies from beforehand and Mr. Hyde and all that.
Hmm.
Because some stories out there, they're just like, oh, okay, here's another uh, supernatural thing going on. We'll just skip over the rest and they pretend it doesn't happen. And this one's just like, oh, we're still rebuilding after Moriarty's zombie attack or and all this. And then a boat gets attacked by Dracula. It's really cool. It's interesting. I always wanted to see Sherlock Holmes really go up against the supernatural like this because he's always debunking these kind of things and all the stories and whatnot.
Hmm.
And it's a really fun read if you guys like classic Victorian era Sherlock Holmes going up against supernatural creatures.
Who publishes that? Is that like Dark Horse or ID Idea?
It actually says Wildstorm.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Huh. So
on the cover. Yeah.
I would not have guessed that. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it says Wildstorm, but on Comixology it says publisher DC. sold by DC, so I'm guessing they bought out Wildstorm.
Yeah. DC
Yeah,
owns Wildstorm. They
yeah,
used to, yeah. Huh, I would not have guessed that.
yeah. Maybe we'll have Batman versus Sherlock Holmes one
Yeah,
day.
that's what I want to see. Very intriguing. Oh, you know what I saw? Speaking of Batman, and since we're talking
Sherlock
about
Holmes.
Halloween, Mitch Gerrards posted a picture of he posted a picture of Professor Pig. And I was like,
Oh, did he?
what? I was like, Professor Pig's gonna be in Batman. Now I want to read
What?
Batman again. That's all they needed. They just need
Uh,
Professor Pig, and I'm down because it's so crazy.
he is creepy. And we talked about him, I think, before, because I
Yeah,
remember.
he's oh my gosh.
Out of all the
Actually,
Batman's villains, he creeps me out the most.
I agree. I think it's coming out. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he put in quotes, "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin." And they said, "What a better! I couldn't think of a better way to kick off Halloween week than to release my cover for Batman 62." And it's like Professor Pig with just like blood everywhere, and like
Oh my goodness! Is
like
this?
a cleaver. I'm like, dude, I'm in, man. I like Professor Pig.
Did you say this is from the Black series or just the regular?
I think
Because
it's
if it's
just
a
from
Black
the
series, ah, dang.
yeah. I think it's just a
It's a,
regular line.
ah, man, that would have been cool. Because I'm pretty sure if they had Professor Pig in the Black series, it'd be like no hold bar, and he'd be
It
cutting
would
up
be yeah.
everybody. It's so
It would be
brutal, and
insane.
yeah,
Yeah, it's from
uh,
Batman 62, so their normal one.
62 or 52.
62.
Oh,
Yeah. Anyways, that was a slight uh divergent thought, but man, I do like Professor Pig and
I
how
have
crazy he
no
is.
idea how. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you could be eating and they're reading some stuff like ugh, hurling all over the place.
Well, I have one more pick here, and it is the Hellboy.
Yay!
I started off October thinking I'll read like one Hellboy volume for our Monster Mash, and then I read all of them. And listeners, if you've not dived in to the wonderful Hellboy universe, I highly encourage you to.
I do too.
Yeah, how I read it was I just read Hellboy straight through. I didn't bother BPRD, and it didn't bother me at all. And I read Omnibus 1, Seed of Destruction, because that shows his birth and like his first, but then it goes to the present, sort of. So I read that first. Then I read the 2 volumes of his short stories. Those go back to, his early adventures. And then you just read 2 through 4, and you got the whole thing. And Mike Mignola's scripts are amazing. His art's amazing. I also really liked Richard Corbin's art. He did like the Midnight Circus story. And then Duncan Fegretto, his art for the entire Wild Hunt storyline is amazing as well. It just becomes so much more epic than I ever expected. Like, I had no idea how amazing it was. And it's kind of funny because I think I read something from Mike Mignola talking about how he's like, oh, it was originally just supposed to be like one shots, short story things, and then like it became like this thing.
This amazing thing.
Yeah, and the other thing is in the afterword for Hellboy in Hell, he talks about like once Hellboy's in hell, he wanted to be another like he just write for years and years about these adventures Hellboy would have in hell. But he he wrote issue 8 and realized he's like, oh shoot, I think that was the end of Hellboy. Like I think I just wrote the end. And
Did he really?
yeah, and then he wanted to wrap thing. He wanted like another issue. I think he ended up doing 10 issues. He wanted to wrap up a couple things, but yeah, he wrote issue 8 and then realized, oh shoot, I'm finishing the story. And because it just happened kind of organically. I was like, oh. So I've If you get to the end and you don't like it, that's all right. I have seen people who don't like the ending. I thought it was an oddly little beautiful ending, actually, to me. Um, but anyways, Hellboy's great. I think in the last episode I talked about, it uses all this folklore and
Hmm.
religion to create this really interesting world, that Hellboy lives in. So I would definitely check it out. The end. Or
It's
is
a
it?
dun dun dun.
Um,
It's a really great series, and when you buy the single volume issues, um, in the beginning, like before it starts, Mike Mignola would like write like how he came up with the ideas or like where these characters they're based off and this, that, and the other, and it's really cool because uh you get the feel that he loves the character he created, like he loves the folklore of everything, and he puts that extra effort into it by giving you the start of you reading it, saying like, oh hey, this is for example the Japanese one. It goes, oh, there's this legend in Japan, this that, and the other, and if
mhm.
you go there, you could see it or like visit. Like that's always intrigued me how he does that because I he goes out and physically visit these places, and I think, oh, that's really super cool. And
Yeah, he's must be extremely well read.
hmm
I mean, I was amazed at all the things that he was able to combine
hmm
and make it work. Like it wasn't just like he was just throwing stuff together.
yeah,
Um, it's very organic. I mean, like this is just like kind of obvious one, but like even his like end of the world type scenario. I mean, he's kind of combining like you know Christian
biblical, yeah,
revelation stuff. There's like the Norse Ragnarok in there. I think there's
hmm
even like Mayan, kind of end of the
hmm
world type things. It's just like everywhere, and he just like makes it into this
hmm
thing that makes
like
sense.
one
Yeah,
big pot, he just like
right.
throws it all in there.
But it doesn't seem. I don't know. It works. It works for it.
It does. He knows what he's doing. I always love reading his Hellboy stories, like whether if it's his own series or where he's like teaming up with Goon, or like
Hmm.
there was a Batman one, but I think that one's like an actual book in Spanish that I saw somewhere at the library. It's like Batman and Hellboy, and I think there was someone else in there. I think the Green Lantern.
Hmm.
It looked intriguing, but my Spanish wasn't good then as it is now. So I was like, oh, I'll get it one of these days. But yeah, he's a unique creator. Like he could draw his own uh art when he comes to his own kind of story. So that's what gives him such a free range, I
Hmm.
think, when he's doing Hellboy.
Right.
And just to throw this out there, one of my creepiest experiences reading Hellboy was the Japanese floating head one.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's super weird.
Yeah, it's weird and creepy, and I think after I read it, I had at least one nightmare of Japanese floating heads chasing me.
Oh no.
And yeah, and I was like, oh God, Hellboy. And
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
uh, I was just saying, and
Oh.
that just scared the bejesus out of me.
Yeah, I think my favorite short stories, because I definitely preferred the larger narrative, but I think my
Mhm,
favorite short stories were The Bride from Hell, uh, Hellboy in Mexico, and then the scariest for me, the creepiest in my opinion, was
mhm.
The Crooked Man. That's a weird that's a weird one. I don't know if you've read that one, but
It sounds familiar. I read the short stories a long, long time
yeah.
ago.
It's like the guy who there's like all those witches
Mhm,
and I don't know, there's like a demon who can't I mean I can't remember what he does. Well, demons and witches,
mhm.
pretty typical stuff, but I
Oh,
don't know.
is that the one where spoilers alert at this point, where he finds out that his m- no, that's not the one. I would say that he finds out like his mom is a witch or something, but she's
No,
not a witch. She's a
that's a
nun.
different one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Never
No,
mind. Because
she's
I
a
was like,
witch. She's a witch.
I thought she was a nun because they show
No,
in another.
no, the nun was there. Uh, she's not a nun. I'll put it that way without spoiling anything. She's definitely a witch. Yeah.
Then what was the nun about? Oh, well, we'll talk about that afterwards. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Well, there's like a nun and a priest who were there,
Yeah.
I think, to like try to dispel. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. They were there because she, on her deathbed, like resent. She wanted to like repent,
Mhm.
uh, from her like witchcraft.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense because I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, then I have no idea what I'm talking about
Well, that's
at
all
this
right.
point. It's been a long time, a long time since I think I read the Crooked Man one.
The Crooked Man. I'm trying to think of defining characteristics of it. It doesn't matter if you ever read it, I think you'll be creeped out too. It's pretty creepy. Well, do you have any
The
other choices for us this evening?
My last choice is one I read a while ago, and it's by I know this author, or I don't know the author, but he works with where is it? Where is it? Sorry, folks. It is Lady Machina.
Oh yeah. Wait,
The
Lady Mechanica?
yeah, I
Yeah.
say it all Mexican like, but yeah. There's this story where it takes place during the Day of the Dead,
Oh.
and it's like a four little mini series kind of thing where she ends up in Mexico and she has the whole like her get up is like the whole skeleton Lady of the Dead kind of thing, and she ends up enjoying her time there, which uh the people are haunted by what they tell her like the ghost, they come in and then take women and then rob them and all that stuff, and no one stands up for her, and then she like tries to fight them off, which she does, but then when she's away, they come back and kill everybody, which
Mhm.
ticks her off. So she dresses up as the goddess of death and goes and rains
Oh.
hellfire and everything. Yeah, it's really cool. The art is always amazing. Uh, the storytelling is phenomenal, and if you're a fan of Lady Mac Macanica, that's how I'm gonna say it because
That's
it
fine.
sounds better. Yeah, it's a great read for those of you who haven't picked it up. I recommend the Day of the Dead one because it's Day of the Dead, and me being a Mexican, anything Day of the Deadish, I'm gonna love automatically, even if it's poorly written. I'm just like, oh, I love it.
That's awesome.
Hmm. So yeah,
Well,
that's my quick summary of that one.
nice. I'll give two honorable mentions because I didn't read them this month, but I've
Mhm.
read them in the past. Black Monday Murders by Jonathan Hickman and Tom Coker. I don't think that book gets enough love. Go read it. It's great. And definitely horror. There's some horror aspects. Actually, quite a bit. And the other is Black Magic by Greg Rucka and I want to say Nicola Scott, but hopefully I'm not wrong on that. Um, I do like me some Greg Rucka, and I really liked Black Magic. It's basically like a detective who's also a witch, but no one knows
Nice.
she's a witch. So
Oh,
it's
and
good
like
stuff.
kind of like the Dresden Files,
Yeah, yeah, actually,
sort of.
quite a bit like that. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, good stuff. But
yeah.
I would recommend those too.
Uh, my honorable mention is gonna sound like way out of left field, but it's really funny. And the only reason I know of it's because I saw it on Comixology and it had a zombie in the title. And it's like, oh, that sounds cool, but it's called Zombie Tramp. and exactly what you think. It's pretty much a this escort, a famous escort who like dates celebrities and whatnot, gets paid to go visit this guy, this cop who's framing her pimp,
Hmm.
and he'll let her pimp go if she like spends the night with him and whatnot. And it turns out that he's just using her to feed her son,
Oh.
who's a zombie.
Oh.
So yeah, that's where the zombie part comes in. So the son eats her and she comes back to life as a zombie, and this witch who likes her ends up liking her, like, oh hey, you have spirit, you have spunk. I'm gonna let you be your like still be alive but still be a zombie. And she passes her witchcraft to her, so she's able to do magic and still be a zombie and change her form. And if she like gets damaged, she could like switch her spirit into someone else's body and it'll morph
Oh.
into her.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But it's like a way out of left field kind of book. Like I read it because it just had zombie and it's quirky, it's funny, it's very strange, and you'll be seeing a lot of prostitution kind of things into it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so it's for mature audiences.
Right. I feel like a
Uh,
lot of them that I mentioned were,
yeah,
if not all of them, were, yeah.
yeah. Well, it's just like if you pick it up, if you even read volume issue one, you're gonna know what I mean. Like, oh, okay, I know what
um,
you're saying.
Speaking of kind of out of left field things, I remember you loaned me a, was it Wormwood Gentleman?
Oh my goodness, yes, the
Yeah,
Gentleman Worm. That
yeah.
is
That,
hilarious. I love
that's
that
an,
one.
I'm gonna make that another honorable mention. I can't remember who wrote it, but it's really funny and I enjoyed it a lot. So,
I have that one somewhere.
it's
And
like Gentleman Corpse, right? Wormwood
yeah,
Gentleman Corpse. Yeah,
yeah, it's really great because it's a worm living in a body, and he's
yeah,
just kind of detective kind of thing. I always picture a British voice when he does
yeah.
a
I do too.
when he talks.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah,
Well, I think that does it for me. And are you good? Were those your
yeah,
monster mashes? Very good. I
they
just,
are.
I just made monster mash into like a noun, or
Yeah,
I guess it's already a noun,
your
but I
monster
changed. I changed.
mashes,
Yeah, I changed the meaning. Next week is the much awaited
and
Daredevil
anticipated.
season 3 review and discussion. Spoilers will be in effect, so watch season
Yeah,
3.
it's been like
And
what,
yeah,
three, two
it's
weeks?
been a,
Yeah, everybody should have seen it by
actually
now.
I think it's only been a like a week and a half. Yeah.
Has it?
Yeah, we're
Oh
coming up on
yeah,
2 weeks. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
So check that out. As I said before, we're on iTunes and
And Podbean
Podbean and YouTube. So
and
check us
Instagram.
out. And Instagram. Any closing thoughts, Mr. Bigby?
Um, Stay safe when you're out trick or treating.
That's right.
Uh, don't do anything we wouldn't do. Don't do anything that we would do.
Keep
There's a
some
little
candy
gray
for
area.
yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Make good choices. I guess that's don't drink and drive.
yeah,
Because
that's
I'm
good
just
too.
saying
Yeah.
this because it's Halloween and y'all
Yeah,
are gonna
yeah.
be partying.
Y'all crazy kids.
Yeah, yeah, you're crazy kids. Us grown adult people. We'll just be here watching Daredevil season 3 again,
That's
or
right, like
BoJack
proper
Horseman.
adults. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. This is Boy Blue and
This is Bigby, and please like, comment,
oh, that's
subscribe,
right. Yeah, do
share,
all that.
promote us, send us around the world, folks, so we could be award winning, more award winning than we
More,
already
even
are.
more, yeah, even
Yeah,
more award winning. Yeah.
yeah, we got to be confident. We got to say it loud.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for listening, everyone.
Happy Halloween. Thank you.